Less Kevin, more tech, UTECIT.com. We're happy to have Heather here today. Heather Nugen from Michigan Community Resources Group.
Yeah, good morning.
Heather Nugen is known as the Motor City Mad Woman.
Nugent or Nugen?
Nugen.
Nugen.
No T.
But if it were a T, you would be the...
I would be the Motor City Mad Woman.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're from, my family's traditionally from a different part of West Virginia, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll have to go there. Here, we'll have to go down to that holler a little bit later here. But
Heather, welcome.
Thank you.
you can still be the Motor City Mad Woman without the T.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. Are you going to start out with a song?
No. Nobody's going to know my weird musical taste.
So for all her friends that would listen to this,
Right.
Stumble across this for some unknown reason, Heather was bragging about earlier. She's a great singer, wasn't she?
Yes. Yeah.
So they need to corner her and get her at the dueling pianos and go to town, right?
Yep.
Volunteer.
So Michigan Resource Group.
Michigan Community Resources.
See, I already butchered it, man. See, I told you you're dealing with a couple knuckleheads today,
That's
Heather.
all right. That's all right.
You had high hopes, and we just dashed them when you walked in. But tell us what you guys do.
Yeah, so Michigan Community Resources is a nonprofit that serves other nonprofits. So we work with both foundations and more direct service nonprofits. So those that might be doing volunteer projects, getting resources to different community members, things like that. And we help them get grants. We also help them do internal development. So when they need website services or marketing services or more legal professional development stuff, we help them either do that directly or connect to somebody else who will help them do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So earlier we were chatting, there's some things that set you apart.
Mm-hmm. We're the only nonprofit support organization in the state that provides pro bono legal services. So we coordinate that on behalf of nonprofits. They can come to us and we will match them with a lawyer that can help them address their issues. So we don't do litigation, but we do other types of legal matters. So especially we do incorporation and bylaws issues, and then a little bit if your 501c3 status has lapsed, things like that, we will help
Gotcha.
manage. Yeah.
I got to imagine with that, there's got to be a lot of, we used to call it paperwork, but that seems to be going away. But in the whole nonprofit sector, there's a lot of different laws and.
Yeah, compliance. I mean, we help a lot with compliance issues.
I would think that would be the
and
big.
especially we mainly work with smaller organizations statewide and in the Southeast Michigan area. So typically they don't have a lot of staff on hand, and usually they're passion projects more than they are somebody who was like really geeked about doing the paperwork to be a nonprofit.
So I was just going to say passion's a key word.
Yes, yeah.
And especially in the nonprofit arena. So what are you passionate about?
I am particularly passionate about helping nonprofits to carry out their missions. So I have spent most of my career in the nonprofit world and started at a small nonprofit myself, and that's how I sort of was introduced to Michigan Community Resources like almost 10 years ago now.
Did they help you when you were starting?
They did, yeah. So they actually helped my early in-career organization get their 501c3 status, and we had an earned income business, and they helped us set up that legal relationship as well, which was actually fairly complex. So it was took like a year of working to get the paperwork through. Yeah. So very helpful, really positive experience for us. And then other nonprofits usually come to us for things like that, going through incorporation for the first time. And I'm really passionate about helping nonprofits because, people on the ground really want to help their communities. And there's so many different ways to do that. And so it's great to support people to just carry that out and really connect to their neighbors and do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because getting that 501 3C, whatever. That's a pretty difficult process, isn't it? It's not as simple as people think. I'll just
Yeah,
go start.
yeah, it can depend. I mean, there's a lot of factors. It can be very easy if you haven't started doing anything yet, but a lot of folks who need support with 501c3 already, they're already working. So they may or may not have formally incorporated correctly with the state. There's a few different organizational designations in Michigan that you have to first incorporate under before you go for 501c3. And like if you've been operating, you have a budget, you maybe even have staff, it's much more complicated to do the 501c3 than if you just have the idea and file the paperwork before you have anything else going on. So most of the people we work with have maybe been doing community work for 5+ years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're motivated by their passions. They're engaged.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden Sony says, hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, or they're like, oh, I really could, like if I could rely on donations to get this going, I could do so much more.
Right.
That's typically where they come from.
I feel like we crossed that bridge. Nobody told me. We went from profit to nonprofit.
Oh, did you reincorporate here?
No, I'm joking.
Oh, okay. Not in the black anymore.
Yeah. No, we're in the black. Barely.
No, we're in the black. We're good. We're solid. We'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Next week, not sure.
Oh, well, day at a time. We're all living there.
That's awesome. So, so you're finding your way, making a living while being engaged in a passionate pursuit.
Yeah, I mean, and that's from our perspective as Michigan Community Resources, really important to value community work the same way that we value other types of work. And to recognize that, like, just because people are passionate about it doesn't mean that they should go without support or resources to carry that out. And a lot of folks are doing really essential work in their communities. So especially in Detroit, you have people who their block club is the thing turning the neighborhood around. And they need so much support to get that done. But, I mean, it's just maybe, like, one woman
Yeah.
out there, like, doing everything for the neighborhood because she really cares.
Right. And the world's just not as simple as it used to be.
No, it is not.
And it's probably going to continue to get more complex.
Yep, I would guess so.
Yeah, so the need's just going to increase.
Yeah, I mean, I wish, like, part of my work is trying to think about, like, how can we change how we relate to the concept of charity or, just service work in general so that there is less need overall. But there will always be, certain types of things, like medical charities will always exist. Like our big audacious goal is, like, what if we didn't have to do nonprofit work at all? But there will always probably be need.
Yeah, right, right. Yes.
Now, Detroit seems like, to me, and just like a hotbed of young people down there. The city's coming back, and that there's a lot of energy down there around nonprofits and, like you said, cleaning up block by block and doing different stuff like that. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, there's a lot of energy around just community work, particularly at the grassroots level. But I think larger organizations are also fairly attentive, and Detroit has been really unique in terms of, like, the density of nonprofit organizations, and also just, like, the very rich range. So there's, like, a lot of arts organizations, a lot of community organizations, but they do, like, anything from very basic services, so food, clothing, those types of things, to, like, really high-end arts productions. And we help organizations at all levels. So we might be working with an organization putting in a park and an organization that's, like, feeding the homeless at the same time, and we have to sort of change our lane to be like, okay, what do you need at any given moment?
All right, so can you name a couple, give a shout out to a couple people down there that are doing really well, or some groups without offending anybody?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard because then they'll think we picked favorites. We do have an awards program that we'll be running this year called Power of One, and it is an awards program for women who are doing community work. They're previously unsung, so they may be unincorporated, and they do really, really cool stuff. Particularly, we actually partner with a community person to do it. Her name is Dottie Sharp. She's been with us for 10 years. She works with the Judson Center, but she's got a couple of other nonprofit affiliations. Because she herself is a dedicated woman. So she's really great. And then we have a lot of really cool projects in the KIPTE cohort program.
So what's that?
KIPD is Kresge Innovative Projects Detroit.
Okay.
So it is a community development and or more of a physical development grant program. So it started out as like kind of an investment in parks. It has come to incorporate quite a bit range of projects.
The scope is broadened.
Yeah, it's gotten larger. And we volunteered recently with one of our cohort grantees, Class Act, and he is renovating a church into a community center, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So we went and volunteered there as a staff recently.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's a cool building. I don't know how he found this church. Like,
Where's it at?
it's, where is it? On the west side.
Okay. If you think of it, we'll jump back to it.
Yeah,
Look out for cool churches on the west side of Pazuka. Are you allowed in churches? You get hit by lightning? Okay.
So Heather, you'd mentioned the legal part, which is obviously complex, and I can imagine how relieved people would be to get the pro bono work.
Yeah.
Because those fees have got to rack up.
I don't know what the value of services would be that we offer. Typically, like well into the hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Some
hourly.
Some cases closer to thousands. The individual lawyers will usually have boundaries on how far they'll go with a case, but we do a lot of different stuff.
Need to remind our attorneys of that,
Right, exactly.
I don't think they have boundaries.
No.
Well, they'll refer you to somebody else who's like maybe better because we've helped with like real estate issues as well.
Oh, our guys got that billing dialed in, man.
Yeah,
they know how to do it.
So in addition to that, I heard you also say marketing, website development. What's all that about?
So we don't do a lot of that in-house. We've traditionally done something called office hours where we'll help triage a nonprofit's issues, and then we make referrals or connections either to somebody who can help them do it for free or someone who does it professionally, and we do it on a paid contract basis. So because we've been in the industry for 25 years, like we know
You're well known.
Yeah, and we know a lot of people who work with nonprofits to meet their basic service needs. So just like a small business, a nonprofit has to outsource and hire vendors. And we know a lot of those vendors and have known if people had positive experiences, negative experiences, neutral experiences. So we connect those people. And most recently, we've launched a new website called Dovetail that has that directory sort of published and available to the public. Whereas in the past, we did that all sort of behind the scenes as a trusted connector.
Yeah, right, yeah. So Dovetail, what's the website?
Yeah, dovetaildetroit.org is the website, and you can find our directory there. We have some other resources from work we did in collaboration with COAC Detroit, which is another organization similar to ourselves. They're also in Detroit. They're about 5 years old, and they focus more on like fund management and nonprofit resources. So they'll help with grant development and writing. And they also do a lot of the similar work we do, so we partner quite a bit.
So where do you see all this kind of heading?
Yeah, so with Dovetail in particular, we're really excited on building out some more self-guided tools. So this year we're building a fund development like online wizard. So you'll be able to click through, sort of put your organization's information in and get a recommendation for what type of fund development you should do based on where your organization is at. And then it will also come with some referrals for who you might reach out to if you need to pursue some next steps.
Are you integrating any artificial intelligence into that?
Not yet. We're still figuring out our AI policy. We actually co-hosted an introductory workshop about AI for nonprofits with Michigan Nonprofit Association just a couple months ago. But we're all like very much on the cusp of like, we don't know where this is going to go. Some folks are using it already, and some folks are like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, there's some challenges with bias, right? I mean, that's a really big one.
Yeah.
But the complexity of the grant writing, it could be used as a tool to assist.
Yeah, I mean,
not to replace.
Yeah, I don't know that nobody has used it without editing. Is the big takeaway is like quality in, quality out with the AI, and then also you're always going to have to look it over for that human feel, make sure it's in the right voice, that it didn't go off on some weird tangent in the middle.
Which it will.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. Now, how do you guys raise money for your initiatives?
Yeah, so our main, we do direct asks, so we get operating dollars from foundations, and then we also do cohort facilitation. So that's that work that we do with Kresge Innovative Projects. We facilitate their cohort of grantees, and so we do some professional development, some cohort development, so just like networking, the folks in the grant program that year. And then we also do, in the past, we've done more direct service consulting, so working with other organizations to do a direct project. We've moved away from that in recent years, but I think in the future we'll move back towards it.
Why do you say that?
Just because with the pandemic, it was really hard to do that in-person connectivity, and so it didn't make sense for us to keep trying to do direct service. Now that we're coming out of the pandemic.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we'll be able to go back to that.
Good.
Now, you guys do a ton of work, and just listening to all this impact, and I've heard it from other folks that worked with you guys and down there. But your staff isn't that big for all the work you do, is it?
No, there's less than 15 of us.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at the webpage. I remember there's just a handful of you. And
Yeah, and I'm a one-person team, so got a lot on my shoulders.
So, and I reading there too. Burnout was a big part of what you guys were talking about, and again, you've got these small nonprofits running. How do you guys address that, and how do you work on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the other half of my work, which I wasn't necessarily going to come talk about, but I can, is our Rest and Liberation Initiative. So over the last couple of years, we did some focus groups and some research, and we published a report about sabbatical programs specifically for nonprofit leaders. And there's a big gap in the market. I think in the private sector, it's a lot easier to take career breaks and rest, especially for smaller organizations with smaller budgets. I mean, like, people don't ever get to take vacation. Either the organization can't afford for them to be out, or they just feel so connected to the work they don't know how to take a break.
Passion-driven.
Yeah, and so that can really lead to burnout, especially because nonprofit work is really under-resourced. So you're fighting what you feel is a very critical issue in your day-to-day, and you cannot go on vacation. So the Rest and Liberation Report outlines a sabbatical program we are actively fundraising for, if any funders are listening, that targets specifically smaller nonprofits with budgets of $500,000 or less. That's a big gap in the market. Most of the existing sabbaticals are for organizations with a budget of $1 million or more, and particularly organizations that are led by people of color. So because they face burnout at higher rates, people of color-led organizations tend to be underfunded compared to white-led organizations. They have less robust networks of supporters and volunteers, things like that. So we're really pushing on the sector overall to change how we invest in nonprofits overall, but especially nonprofits led by people of color.
So when you look at a sabbatical, you know, so this country's not known for
No.
in any way, shape, but you know, when you speak about with like European organizations, that's kind of part of the culture. Is the sabbatical or career break, as you. Do you ever see that coming to the United States?
We would like to see it become much more common, right? And part of our goal in outlining this program and advocating for it is that, like, people need to rest. You can't do your best work if you're burnt out. And you really can't even keep doing the work at all sometimes. People, you know, move away from their nonprofit careers, especially when they're burnt out. They get tired of chasing funding. They get tired of dealing with the same issues and not seeing any change. I don't know if in America we'll ever really grapple with this need to rest. We grow up, you know, really immersed in this, like, hustle culture. You know, You've got to grind, get your money, keep going.
Right, rise and grind.
It's like a coffee program you two are talking about.
Yeah,
It is.
it's not, we haven't even touched on your
Yeah,
personal affinity for coffee.
my coffee. Love coffee.
What's your favorite?
I don't think so. I have like
Don't
a favorite.
say Maxwell House Instant.
No, I have a favorite
Oh, okay.
style of coffee. It's not like a favorite brand. I really like Sumatra grind. So
Educate me.
yeah. So it's just where the coffee's grown.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just, I think, has a really, like, nice mild flavor. I don't like dark roast. I don't like light roast too much. because I get over caffeinated. I just like it right in the middle.
Do they have that at the Fast Lane Golf gas station?
Maybe the really high-end gas station.
Okay.
Have you
Walk
seen
in,
the
tell Lauren, hey, give me some of that.
Have you seen the coffee beans? They go through the elephant.
No.
Or that's okay. That we'll talk about that one off.
Oh, is that when they eat the coffee?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the world's most expensive coffee.
No, I've definitely never had that.
I am never going to have that.
So back to the nonprofit work.
Yeah, exactly.
Tangent aside.
Yeah. Tangent aside. So it sounds like you're really, positive and passionate about the direction of your organization.
Yeah, I'm newer to the organization. I joined just a couple years ago, almost in May. But I think I have a great team, so that makes it really easy to feel excited about the work.
For a second?
Yeah.
Earlier you said you're a team of one, so we're not talking.
Well, not department team, not department team.
I got a great team.
Organizational team.
I got you.
Yeah, we all support each other. We are hiring soon, so I won't be alone forever.
That's awesome. That is.
Yeah.
And so the impact, you'd mentioned that, wouldn't it be great to have a time when we didn't need, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if that's ever an element, because I don't know that would ever happen.
I think arts organizations, medical organizations will certainly always need support and community investment. I think our future vision is more about like a civic infrastructure that's more invested in community care. So, and building more cohesive communities, neighborhoods, things where basic needs are not going unmet the way that they are now. I mean, people struggle with the most basic necessities, I think, a lot of the time. And we would like to get to a point where we're not going through foundations to meet those needs, that they're being met. And either people have economic self-determination and they can care for themselves, or there's some other kind of civic social infrastructure meeting those needs. Yeah.
If you were to wave a magic wand, what do you see as the solution?
I mean, I really view it as just like economic justice in a lot of ways, and addressing economic gaps. So especially in Detroit, unemployment is still higher than the rest of the state, and people would just be a lot better off if they had access to more employment and they could sort of take that where they need to go. Education is a big backbone to that. So you always have, I think, educational charities as long as we have an education system apportioned by taxes, because that results in unequal spending. Michigan is a little better about that than other places. But I think, like, wave a magic wand, people no longer are not making enough money to meet their basic, life budgets.
Yeah. So how do you, I guess that leads to the follow-up question, how do you get the businesses to come in to provide the opportunities?
Oh, services? I mean, in Detroit, there's a really robust small business development network. So we used to work with NEI, Neighborhood New Economy Initiatives. There we go.
Right.
There's a lot of acronyms.
Yeah, it's an acronym. It's like the medical field.
You're like Governor Snyder. He banned them all.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot of acronyms. But they facilitate nonprofits that work specifically with small businesses to help get them off the ground. So not national organizations, a little bit with the Small Business Development, SBDA administration, a little bit with them, but there's also a bunch of local ones in Michigan and in Southeast Michigan specifically. And so they convene people, help them build up community employment. And so small businesses actually, employ the majority of people in the country.
Right.
So supporting small business development really helps build economic resilience in neighborhoods. So kind of working in tandem on both those issues.
Yeah, you hear a lot about the Fords and the GMs, but the reality is most of the people
work for small organizations.
Right.
I work for a small organization, right?
So do we.
Yeah. 100 employees or less.
That's right. I mean, that's the backbone.
Yeah.
So some of your initiatives then need to bleed over into.
Yeah, even some of our legal work bleeds over into small development support. So, and we really frame nonprofits as just another type of small business. Like, you're doing it for a charitable purpose, but you have all the same needs, issues, those kinds of things.
Got it. So we were talking earlier, and so one of our themes is we usually are bourbon drinkers.
Yeah.
Usually. Yeah, we didn't break it out today, did we?
No, we didn't. Well, the reason I was getting ready to bring it out, and I asked Heather, what's your favorite bourbon? And you said
Rye.
rye. Yeah, you don't.
I don't like bourbon.
You don't like bourbon, so that would have been
too sweet.
So, just what's your favorite rye?
George Dickel.
George Dickel.
Yeah, it's a Tennessee rye.
Yeah, and tell us about how you got exposed to George Dickel. And
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, because you definitely have an opinion. It was not bourbon. It was rye. Scotch is too smoky. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
dialed in.
It's a circuitous trajectory. I went to high school with someone from Tennessee.
Okay.
They moved back to Tennessee after high school to go to college, and my dad at that point had moved to Alabama, very close to. They were in Chattanooga, so I went to visit a couple times. They found this Tennessee whiskey. I've been a fan ever since.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. So, along this, so Alabama, Tennessee, but you're from Spokane.
I'm from Spokane. So, for some context, I grew up in a military family, so everybody just lives all over the place.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Explains it.
That's why everybody's rolling around.
We had West Virginia here. We didn't even get down that
West
far.
Virginia,
You know?
That's where they're from. My dad didn't grow up there. He grew up in West Coast.
So how did you end up in Spokane?
He got placed there. He was in the Air Force. Yeah.
So I've got some family that lives in Spokane.
Oh, really?
And growing up entirely in the Midwest, what kind of amazed me about it is that when I just always think of coast.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of that part of the country, Seattle, whatever. But you're not.
No, it's not the coast at all. It is a high, dry mountain plain.
Yeah. Yeah, and dry being a key word.
Yes, it's very dry. Not a lot of rain.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just until I learned and knew people from Spokane, I never thought of it as what it is geographically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a big misconception. Even since I moved to the Midwest, people are like, oh, it rained all the time.
Yeah, right,
I'm like,
right.
No.
Yeah.
Almost never.
Yeah. Give us a little explanation of that, of the geography.
Yeah, so Spokane is on the eastern half of the state, and the mountains actually block a lot of the humidity. So the whole eastern half, and this is true even down into Oregon.
It's arid.
Yeah, it's arid. It's a high desert, technically. So we get quite a bit of snowfall. That's where most of the water comes from for the year, and we are in the mountains. So it's a higher altitude, and then it's just like a dry pine forest a lot of the time. So fire can be a real big issue. I went back to visit a couple years ago during fire season. Never seen anything like that in my life. Hope I don't again, but probably will. And growing up, fire risk was always a thing because it's dry, just typically very arid. We had hot summers, not very humid, so moving out here was kind of a big change for me. Yeah.
And so you ended up here, and that's how you found your way into the nonprofit.
Yeah,
side.
I moved to Detroit to work in a nonprofit, and I was supposed to be here for a year, and then I just really liked it, so now I've been here.
Stuck.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I could leave. I just like it.
Yeah, I offer that up to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Detroit's a great place.
It is. It's fun.
Yeah, I usually get met with Snickers, so.
I mean, people are still out here trying to keep Detroit down, but.
Yeah, exactly. We ain't gonna let them.
Nope.
Oh, we're back. We're back, Dan Campbell.
Yeah, right.
Put us back on the map, right?
Gritty.
Yeah.
Gritty. So we usually, when we wrap things up, we usually have a toast of a bourbon, but we don't. So
we didn't have any.
We can toast coffee.
We can. So I was just gonna say I'm more of a bullet rye.
Oh, okay.
But I'm gonna go out and.
George, it's good.
I'm just gonna do it because of the name. I mean, the name makes me kind of laugh.
Yeah, it's a great name.
Where's the history of that?
I don't know. I'm just a fan. I didn't do the backstory research.
Well, thank you for coming out. Thank you for the important work you do there. That's I know so many of these small nonprofits depend on you guys, and
it is.
You're a backbone for them, and that's to be commended. So thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate you and the passion you bring into this.
Tell your whole team of one, great job. All right.
Thanks. They'll love to hear.
Go pat yourself on the back. You do good work.
So, is there anything like coming up like in the very, very near future you'd like to wrap with?
Yeah, so most immediately we'll be opening nominations for that Power of One Dedicated Woman Award. That'll open in April. So anybody can nominate a woman in a Detroit community that is doing phenomenal work. Maybe she is not formally incorporated. She doesn't have a big budget. She's donating either her time, her talent, or her treasure to make her community better.
Perfect. And then we'll promote that.
Yeah, great.
You also have an invite to come out for our March Madness?
Yeah, as I said, there's breaking news, too. On their website, there's a button that says donate.
Oh, okay.
So we're opening that up right now.
Yes,
and everybody can go out and they can click that button. They can donate directly to them.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
And you got to come out for March Madness.
Okay.
We have a big gathering, and there's going to be a lot of nonprofits there. And,
nice.
And they'll give you
now
great
we'll have to have Rye.
What's that?
We'll have to have Rye there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
we usually do bourbon testing, but now we'll add a new element.
Get into the Rye.
Right. And so it'll be a good chance for you to come out and network and meet with other folks.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Good.
Thanks for being here, Heather.
Yeah, thank you both.
All right.